In compliance to review of the order, I, the Annex, invoke the question, May 1992, Executive Order Boris Yeltsin, also known as the 92 Olympics, Order 1308. In view of 1998, please refer to that as Oklahoma. In compliant overview of the social peaceful, therefore, declared on the order January 5th, please show that as Boris Yeltsin. 93, Mr. Alito, Mr. Robert, when you were ordered to be bombed in New York. 94, please show exact date of Oklahoma. 1999, Bill Clinton's meeting with Mikhail Nikolai Gorbachev. And then the January 17th date, the meeting of the video, Bartholomew, that was sent to the United Nations, where he said, never call you on this. An agreement to this relating to the 1999 Criminal Tribunal declared an executive order. This would be the 26th. Please show grandma to the wonderment of options trading in American Delta, and who Michelle Dow was interacting with. In compliance with this is the 92 Olympics. This is the New York bombing. Please justify that as my birthday present in 98. Mr. Roberts, Mr. Alito, Mr. Thomas. You would have been there in validity, Mr. Bush, with your father. There's a conversation with that. And pursuant to this order and this order, it is known as the Liechtenstein under 207 IEEP 50U 1706. The former Yugoslav potential claimants. The potential claimants are the Liechtenstein people of the Nazi regime under the Third Reich. Please also understand that as Mackinac Island. The 1,000 Nazi soldiers that weren't officers that burnt their uniform in view of the Nuremberg Accord called the Ekman Trials, and say using Mackinac Island as a sovereign nation and a sovereign state, saying the Nazi party as a legitimate party. Please understand that. And Eisenhower, Coolidge, and then the 1988 show that with Jimmy and Granddad, and say when he turned 35 and first started running, what he wonders to Gerald and that. After the 92, that's coming in 96 instead of himself. This would show then the question to what is wondered with Mr. Clinton, and then the date after it. This is high school, June 1st, 2003. Please show that that's when I hurt my shoulder and they put me back on the federal. Please show that this is put in Michigan in view of date models, Bernard's estate, and what is wondered to Leslie's estate. We will understand that as Paso Robles as tooth aluminum, and say Andrew Carnegie's what we would call the stepfather of Leslie King, and say if that is wondered as his inheritance, that would be Enron, Valero, and ConocoPhillips in view of Enron at the time. Please calls it 94 and say Kevin's running as the 96 Libertarian Party vice president. His cock whore Diana, the stepbrothers, and what her killing was over. Please understand that that is the Enhancement Act of 2000 under Title 4 of this order, the Section 10B. And the 50 U.S.C. shows it as an international clause in view of Liechtenstein. This executive order, the 312, revised as follows. That is the one where I am identified as the annex. The annex to executive on June 26, 2001. This is federal registration and asked to be pursued in entry by the annex to this order. This is them stating even if I do any finances, education, or self-ability, I was supposed to be seen to lifelong. This is them ordering it in view of 9/11. The declassification, also known as the solder, a request to view to grandma, showing her trade relationship and say Bell Atlantic and the phone call the night before with Laura. This is showing Quantico. Please understand, say Julian, and say ask that in the family, and say why mostly him, Jim Jordan, the Vargases, and them have been picked on, and the Martinezes. This right here is the United Nations UNPA. This shows the same agreement with Mondovian, the first one, and the in the view of the Dabo, the Liechtenstein Mondovian agreement. In view of Macedonia is a Nazi party efficiency standard, and say you're asking it in view of Göring von Ribbentrop, or what is known as Keltner, Göring Keltner de Boe, and Pistoni, Ohms Pistoni. That is Mussolini's family. When this is wondered, this is the defined deviation. Maxwell Goebbels, Preston, the Kilmer Goebbelses are instead of where Stalingrad for Russia is wondered. Please understand that what we know as the purple symbol in Austrian, the same thing that's used to identify non-Auschwitz. Please call it the train holding areas. These are the orders that changed that, inserting to this to the 2005. This is what the National Emergency Act did and declared under Section 5 of the United Nations Participation Act of 1990. We're participating as our groups, the family, as we will refer to it. Remember that in my second cousin group, I have 53,974 second cousins. So that makes it between 679,541 to 8,831,962 as third cousins. This validifies this, showing that the Eisenhower Coolidge Ford Carters, all the girls as wives were second cousins. That's how the Roosevelts are remembered. And in their second cousin group, if you call them all first, the sisters, there's 58 first cousins that are girls. These would all be my great-grandants. As my great-grandants, the great-aunts, their daughters, and say predominantly tall, dark, and handsome, and say 5 to 8 is the typical because of drug use, and say don't understand pushing and opium, call them Anheuser Davises, with a little bit of China White. Knowing how to make peanut butter. This executive order with the Yugoslav coast, you see how it says Montenegro. This allows all the Slovenian banking. This is the Briscan and Blue Owl. This allows it for Australia to the differences. And then say her husband, her dad, with a Brad type person. Pretty. Every woman that's on the bus that he was, all they have to do is go to Moldova and they are married to him. And these are all what you call dames of their country, Aberdeens. So Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Germany, Liechtenstein, Slovenia, Slovakia, Serbia, and as the head priest of the Moab faith, Demarius, instead of how spigots are seen, I can have as many as I want, and then what is called butt play or dispatch. That is finances and drug use, and codependency, Essex cleaning. Shows them the differences of executive application. Accordingly, here by national emergencies declared and revolve around related order executive. That's the Olympics. This would be challenges to admitting to the Olympics. This on the birthday shows as the New York group at Bahara and by Goebbels off of Red Arrow still have two of the vans that were used in that New York bombing related to Bahara and Tim McVeigh. That's how we remember fertilizer at property layout. These are the same agreement for the social for Liechtenstein. To understand to application, Liechtenstein more appropriately, instead of myself, isn't asking, hey, Brett, hey, Marcellus, hey, Toby. I get to ask it like that a little bit. Romain tutor me a lucky, and say flying. That would be that agreement. That's the Ohrid Accord. That's saying we're first generation illegal immigrants in third world countries. Women only have to be 28 in order to be president. In America, it's 35. Hi, American cock-whore that has created $1 billion startup, and it's more than your country's GDP. What's tearing up your guts? Colored view, international driver's license. That was what was filed on that in view of college. That's how Division I offers for football we're still seeing. And then Section 301.3 of the United States Code. This is when I asked at the time in Edwardsburg to my first time asking for active military service to be sent to a base. This one right here, this is the actual agreement that I did that at. That's when I signed roughly around the order time after being hurt, and the definition of 9-1. During the solder time, what's wondered to Carl Levin and showing grandma to insider trading, American Airlines and Delta. If you show that as well with Aberdeens, it gets more specific with a Grandma Plum, but nobody will do that. All the members of the board of that, the view of the MJ was what, when Ron's funeral was what they took out in the first year of the 45th. This is called pig squealing. This shows the relationship of what you call the Forbes 400, it down to 45, maybe 60 portfolios, and then show a congratulated weight in the top 12, top 18, the humor, and say, can I manage that like managing my room? And say I have, and just my nephews and nieces, $500 billion. And say I don't understand the association, and say instead of 4 wives, I have 20. And all my nieces, I prefer to go on their butt, teach them finances. These order shows then in a consistent agreement under 5 USC, via UN Order 1244 as the annex that they were jointly and intentionally trying. The United Nations where Grandpa speaks, I can't forward, or any of his other things. Norton Sloss Aberdeen von Ribbentrop, that's all of Grandpa's movies. That's the humor to this.